on in.
Wow, behind the front window. Ah, Bonneville.
Yeah, she's a beautiful.
Kit, you never told me you owned a Bonneville.
Yeah, isn't it stunning?
Holy moly. Beautiful. Wow, look at the finish.
It's a beauty. I searched for this particular bike for quite some time. I had a friend of mine who's a classics buff watching out for me on the internet for a good year solid before I found it in California.
California?
Yeah, I actually bought it from Jesse James, the guy that does the motorcycle show. Not him, not that exciting. His neighbor. The guy
Oh, you could have been kidding.
Jesse James and Sandra Bullock, his neighbor. But I looked specifically for this bike because growing up, when my father was 24 years old, he bought this, not this specific VIN, but he bought this identical bike.
This specific model with this specific paint, the whole, absolutely the same.
Identical bike.
Ah, okay.
Hand grips, you name it. The bike is absolutely identical. And I've got some great photos of that I'll
well, we'll have a look at those.
I'll show you as well. When my dad was a young man with his bike. So I searched for this and bought it on the internet, and I actually told him I needed a hand. I had to go down to the States and pick something up, and we drove together to the border to pick it up, and he had no idea what it was.
Isn't that wonderful?
It was in a lovely shipping container, a special bike shipping container, and we had a padlock at each end, and I gave him the code, and we cracked it open, and this beauty was.
Isn't it? I bet he was. Yeah. Gobsmacked.
He was, absolutely.
Okay.
Since then, I have a new bike as well. Nothing nearly as beautiful as this, obviously. But we've been riding together a couple of times. So I think it was 40 years since it had been almost 40 years since my dad had thrown the leg over almost this identical bike again. So it was a real special.
What a thrill for him.
I'm going to go get my dad, and you can chat with him as well, because it's an interesting story. So
I'm going to take a look at the bike while you're gone, okay? Wow, 120R, fantastic bike. You know, I think any boy growing up in England in the early days, or even over here in America, you know, would have loved to have a Bonneville like this. They were light, nimble, great exhilaration. They had lots of guts in the engine, and we used to say they were thrashable. In other words, you could drive the hell out of them, and they hung together, unlike some other marques at the time. And this is a great example. I mean, I can't believe the finish on this, and it's original. And on the front here, we have full-width hub brakes, which were nice. Bonnevilles were famous. Well, actually, Triumphs were famous for losing the rocker box covers. And I can attest to that because I had a lot of early Triumphs. And as you can see here, we have these little clips on the rockers on these. These don't have the fin type, but they still have the little securing clips to keep the rocker box covers on there. What would happen? You'd be riding down the road, doing the ton or whatever it was, and all of a sudden you hear a clang, 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 and you look, oh man, you thought your engine had just fallen out in the frame, but you look behind and there's all the rocker box covers going down the road, and you'd never find them, and even if you did, they were just aluminum because they were destroyed. So as young guys, we used to actually drill them, and we'd actually wire them just like the race guys, so they wouldn't fall off. And anyway, other than that, the Triumphs were a great bike, and the Bonneville, well, we all know the history of the Bonneville. Bonneville Salt Flats, 244.5 or something like that miles per hour. World record holder for a single-engine motorcycle. And the reputation still precedes it today. What a fantastic machine. I'm looking around this, Burgess exhaust. This bike's impeccable. Nothing's been done to it. It's not been restored. It's original. The rubbers hardly have any wear on them. This is the original paint job. And the seat, this is the original color for this particular model. I'm gobsmacked. I can't believe it's in such a great condition. 15,000 original miles on this bike. What a keeper, what a beauty.
This is my dad, Christopher.
So, Chris, you're the perpetuator of all this.
I'm afraid I'm the cause of the trouble.
Oh man, I can't believe it. So, Kit says that when he took you to see it, it was a surprise. Right? What was your reaction when you saw this machine?
Well, I was absolutely thrilled because, as far as I was concerned, this was my bike. It was so close that I was thrilled.
Deja vu.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Now, tell us a story, because Kit showed us a photograph. Actually, you were down east with this, or did you buy it down east? Or?
No, I bought it here in Toronto.
Your original bike, not this one.
Back in '66,
yeah.
the Bonneville I got. And in 1967, my girlfriend and I at the time decided we would go to Newfoundland and back. Joey Smallwood had just built a new road right across
Joey Smallwood.
Joey Smallwood.
Okay.
And so there we were, and we drove all the way to St. John's and back. Excellent ride. 2 up, luggage, the whole thing.
No problems.
No problems at all, the whole trip.
Wow, fantastic. So you had the bike, and so you had it for a number of years, and then Kit says that I guess you decided to settle down and have a family, and then you had to say goodbye to the bike,
Yes,
right?
I'm afraid I did. I had to trade in the Triumph, to my regret now, thinking back on it, and instead I bought myself a family car, a Citroën Diane, 1968.
Very reliable family car.
Yes, we'll show you a picture of that another day.
Yeah, I remember the Citroens. Funny suspension. If you pick them up, the wheels collapsed underneath them.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's fantastic. So basically, in your heart, you've been a motorcyclist, and now, of course, it's passed on to your son,
Yes.
Kit here, who's carrying the torch forward, and he's purchased this lovely bike. Have you been out on this particular machine at all? Or?
Well, yes, a few times I've been out, and it was interesting because it had been approximately 40 years since I'd ridden this bike.
Wow.
So I get on, a little bit nervous, close to being terrified, in fact. But once I got rolling, put it into first gear, took off down the road.
It all came back.
The years just melted away, and it was just like yesterday.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
It was incredible. It's true.
Isn't that fantastic?
It was a great thrill for us to go and ride together too. We'd never done it before, and I grew up with Dad had me interested in motorcycling when I was a kid, and we used to go to the vintage races at Mosport, and I always had dirt bikes, and so it was the first time that we actually ever got to ride together, and it was a real thrill for me for sure, and I know it was for Dad too.
Well, that's wonderful. What a wonderful story. It's just fantastic. And you can only get a story like that on In Search of the Ultimate Two-Wheel Classic and Behind the Garage Door. Thanks very much, Kit. I really appreciate it. And Chris, it's been a great pleasure meeting you, and we'll see you again, I'm sure.
Very exciting.
Fantastic.